And now, live in studio, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Yes, you're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show with your host, Brandon Rhymes. Brandon is out today, so you got your backup quarterback, James DeJerome, in the chair. We are committed to providing the same quality program that we always do. Brandon has set the example for us here as consumer advocates. It's our job to go out there, vet these business owners, bring them in, and provide some knowledge for you, give you a little more power, a little more of spending power out there in the world as a consumer. And to do that, we've got a team here and a team that we've assembled as far as partners in the business community. Here in studio, I want to give a shout out to our guys behind the scenes. I got Dimitri, our intern, always doing a good job for me, and Jose's on our board today, keeping us sounding right. Rob is our tech from WeBeam, so if you ever want to see the show, instead of just listening to the show, we're available all over the place on lots of different areas. We're on WeBeam TV, of course, as Rob, as I said, is our tech from WeBeam that puts us on the web every day. But Binge Networks also carries the program. We're available audio-wise on SoundCloud and Pippa and all over the place, in addition to this big move that's coming up for the program. So you're listening to the show on the radio side on AM 1380, which has been great to us. But we've got an exciting move coming up on September 26th, just coming up this month. The show is going to be available on 860. It's going to be a little bit more folks out there listening, a little bit of a different location for us. Same quality program, same commitment to consumer advocacy, just on a different location on the AM band. So on the TV side, we're still going strong, and we got this big move on the AM radio side. As far as our partners go, man, you couldn't have a better situation. We're still finding great business owners out there that want to be part of the team. And to that end, I brought some folks in here today. Chris Hatfield from Tampa Screens and Aluminum is joining us today. Chris, what's going on?
How are we doing today, James? It's very, very hot out there.
It is very hot, indeed, very hot. And at the same time, I worry about everything. This time of year, it's not just the storms, it's the heat, it's the wind, it's the water. So all over the place.
It's the mosquitoes as well. Every civilization has been brought to a crumble since the beginning of time by mosquitoes. So.
I was so hopeful that the wind would kill all them. The guy said, boy, mosquitoes can't handle it, you know. But unfortunately, they're right back in 3 days. So
and the worst thing is we have things called galley nippers, and they can wait for 2 years for a monsoon in which to hatch.
Oh, my goodness.
And those are the ones that are about dime size that come up and leave pretpretty good welts on.
Yeah, I just was stunned to think that we had all that weather. They're all dead, and 3 days later, they're everywhere.
Welcome to the greatest ecology that we have.
All right, also on the show today, we got Fred DeFelice, waterscience.us. Fred has been great as teaching us a little bit about our water quality and things that we have to look for in our water versus bottled water, trying to bring our own water up to the standards of bottled water.
Right, and it's really easy to do once you know how.
So there's systems in place that Fred can help you with, and also the idea of not knowing what's in your water. You know, people just assume water is water. Boy, that's a big mistake.
It sure is.
Yeah. I read a little bit about chloramine and some of the things that they're putting in our water.
Yeah.
I suppose the government's tasked with keeping us safe, but at the same time, it's not so great to add all that stuff into the water, huh?
Yeah, they have no choice but to have to do it, but the complications it produces are many.
So when you think about everything out there, guys, public schools, every place you go out there it's water's everywhere. It's a critical piece of our society, and you better find out what the kind of quality that you're taking in is, because it could lead to a problem just as well as health.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got some great guys in the studio. We got a great show for you. I want to talk about some of our show partners. You know, the Lucky Dill has been a partner of the show for a couple months now. We've had various restaurant partners over the years on the program. Lucky Dill is one of the best partners we've had. I really enjoy going over there. They do such a good job with their sandwiches. The wait staff's great. There's always something to do, a little bit of a sports bar atmosphere. I think the Lucky Dill, you know, that's a place I want to go every day after the show. So I look forward to coming to the show now, because I got a restaurant partner after the show where I can go and feel pretty good about myself. As far as they got everything under the sun that you want, and they really take care of us over there. So hey, get out to Lucky Dill. Let them know you're a listener of the Consumer Quarterback Show, and they'll hook you up. All right, so Chris, we were talking about, you know, all the storms. Everyone worries about their cage and the screen business, but just straight up summertime down here, you need to have a screen room to get outside and enjoy the summer.
Absolutely. And everybody, whether it's a small lanai, some houses are built with an infrastructure on the outside that you already have a covered lanai. It's part of your roof. It's part of the architecture of your house. Screening in the walls that are in between the columns, that would be a basic covered lanai. And that can get you a little bit of entertainment, but also just a little bit of free space. When you want to go outside, it's already covered. And that's already great if it's built into your house.
Right.
A lot of other houses, the way that they're built is the back of the house just has an A-frame or a straight-off fascia board, and that's it. They might have given you a small little 3x8 pad to walk out of your sliders, but in this area, you've got to have some sort of a screen room. I mean, all you have to do is stand up, look in your neighbor's backyards, and everybody has some way to go out and enjoy the outdoors.
I never thought of it the way you just described it with your basic home construction. So you really got to think of the cage starting with the slab.
Exactly, and especially in the different counties that we're at. Hillsborough County is one of those counties where if you have an existing slab, great, we can build upon that. Every other county we work in, they want to know. They want to know what it's made out of, and if it's existing, they'd rather you build some form of a footer on the outside, and that's going to be a minimal 8-inch by 8-inch, 8 inches wide by 8 inches deep, with a number 5 rebar running contiguously through it as a giant perimeter. That's going to prevent both erosion and uplift,
Are you guys typically, in that situation, it's a reno? It's someone taking an outside room and turning it into a screen room?
A lot of times, yeah. We get into houses where, sadly enough, sometimes inspectors, they come in, they tell you everything about the house in order to sell it for the seller, and you're told that you have this great slab that you can build on. I'm the bearer of bad news sometimes, and I show up and tell people, but it's minimal. To add a footer to the outside of an enclosure is very minimal, and now we have the substrate that we can mount a grandiose enclosure to.
Gotcha. Doesn't affect the warranties or coverage or anything like that in terms of having to modify an existing slab versus pouring one, you guys?
No, as long as we have something to uplift, as long as we have something to mount to, our posts, our walls, our load bearing, that's going to be pretty much dependent upon that footer. Whatever fills the inside of that footer, we have some customers that'll do crushed concrete and pavers. Some people will have a giant slab. I've had a lot of customers that do beautiful koi ponds and mulch and trees, and all they have is their footer perimeter.
Okay, so if you're a homeowner out there and you're thinking about this kind of a project, there's some flexibility. Let Chris come out and see what he can do for you, because it's not just a question of finding the room or having the footer or the slab down there. You kind of got to see the project from outside in.
Absolutely, and Tampa Screens and Aluminum's not going to put something on your house that they wouldn't put on their own, but we're also not going to back ourselves into a problem with the permitting agencies.
Right.
We've been doing this, I've been doing this 20 years. If I don't get my fingers dirty and dig down 4 inches to find out if somebody actually has a slab, then how can I truly put an enclosure on there that I'm putting my name on that's going to last for 30 years?
And Chris, Tampa Screens and Aluminum, you guys have been around for a while. Where all do you work in the Bay Area? Are you everywhere in the Bay?
We've been everywhere in Florida, in all honesty. We love to take care of our neighbors. So we're based out of the Carrollwood Lake Magdalene area, and anybody in our neighborhood, we would love to take care of them. That being said, our neighborhood stretches me as far as Hernando County, as far south as Pinellas. We've done a lot of work in Sarasota County. We've been around for long enough that we've done major storms as well. Hurricane Wilma, I was down in Marco Island for 2 years. We were called by those municipalities because of our quality name.
How have you seen the materials change over? I mean, from the time you started till now, is there been any modifications in terms of the materials you guys did?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, the mill thicknesses of the material has changed. The way that they coat the material has changed. The screening, the way that they do that has changed. We used to just have something that was like fibrous horsehair and dipped with a rubbery vinyl.
Right.
Now they do something that, if you know anything about fishing, it's more like a Power Pro. It's a braided composite line that's woven and braided just like your outdoor furniture chairs, and then they do a hot dip immersion on the actual vinyl polymer to create those large panoramic panels that you're starting to see emerge in the Tampa Bay area.
You don't think of the lifetime of the screen, but I'm sure it has a finite life. What goes first? The coating on the outside? You start to notice?
Yeah, you start to get hairline fractures on that vinyl composite. Vinyl, like anything else, is going to swell and contract, and it's going to take a lot of wind and a lot of abuse. Abrasion, such as plants and things that are up next to it, only intensifies that aging procedure. But I tell people when they're getting a brand new enclosure that basic screen in the walls will last for about 15 years. The roof is taking constant exposure, so it'll last for about 7 to 10 years before you start to see that silver shimmer. But that higher grade screen that I was just talking about with the composite, the P4 poly, that's made with a 10-year manufacturer's warranty.
I know with Fred, we talk about some of the designs and some of the stuff. I'm amazed at what you guys can do. I'm still surprised that you can walk those cross beams up top.
That's I can actually say at this point that's for younger men than
I
me.
was gonna say, you better have some really lightweight guys. I mean, I can't imagine being 175, 185 pounds trying to walk across that thing.
Yeah, I'm a $150 soaking wet with concrete shoes, and I'm not going to walk a 2-inch beam, but that's me personally. I've always done it with walkboards and ladders and things like that. Each crew member is dependent upon what their flexibilities as far as they can install. We're a fully insured company, so if they're going to do something that seems like it may look risky or anything like that, do understand these gentlemen have been doing this for 25 years. We work well inside the OSHA confines. Every single one of our ladders is up to spec, and if they're walking on that area, they truly trust it, and it's because they've constructed it or reinforced it.
Gotcha. Now, when guys are thinking about how long it takes. If I wanted this screen enclosure, I've got an idea what I want. You guys come out. What's a reasonable timetable to get this kind of thing done?
If there's no concrete, let's just say you've had a pool that needs an enclosure. It needs it, and you've got a basic parameter, square footage to go with. We can get that off the ground inside of 8 weeks. No problems, no questions asked.
And no issues with materials. I know some guys talk about the Trump tariffs or the tariffs that have been put in place and how they're impacting their business.
I mean, materials have gone up. I'm not going to say that they haven't gone up, but they always fluctuate. I mean, this is something that they're not going to go back down, but they tend to have rises with petroleum increases, with talks of war, with anything that causes speculation. Materials can go up, but have they gone up astronomically? In no way, shape, or form. I had a customer call me from 2 years ago. I had all of their information, had all of their pictures ready. They asked me what their job would be in difference. We were at a matter of $230. Okay. So it's not like it's need to do it right now because it's going to be the price of gold. I commonly say that.
Given how long these enclosures last, and they're quite durable, do you ever have a job where you just go out and totally rescreen an existing cage that you guys have already built?
Absolutely, and that's one thing that we tell people. I go out and give somebody a full assessment on everything. If they're calling me out to an old enclosure, if it's an old I-beam or it's an old anodized silver cage, that's what we call a survivor. And most of the time they have round spline. It's old enough that it needs to come down. And the mounting apparatus, how it's held up to the house, 9 times out of 10 is out of failed screws to a wooden hosting point, and there's probably wooden rot going on there. So I don't want to tell somebody and give them a false sense of security that rescreening that is a great idea. I will give them an option if it is a viable option, but if the enclosure needs to come down, it's time to come down. But we definitely take care of enclosures all the time that simply need either a rescreen, a rescrew, new doors, new hurricane cables, anything that we can do to, because realtors or the people that call me more often than not, and they don't have a lot. They want to be able to, let's just say, put a little bit of lipstick on it. They want to get that curb appeal. A rescreen is a great way. A simple pressure washing, changing out some of the rusty screws, and making sure the doors work. Most people that are moving into their first pool enclosure, their eyes are down. Why draw them up too much? So the mold and the dirt, clean it off, and beyond that, they're looking at buying a pool.
Very durable and a great way to add some value to your home. We're going to take a break now and come back, and we're going to talk to Fred DeFelice from Water Science US. But I want you guys to think about adding a screen room. Boy, it's going to add some value to your house, and I think it's something that Chris would be happy to come out and take a look at it and see what he could do for you.
Absolutely.
Don't hesitate to contact us here at the show. We'll get you in touch with Chris Hatfield, Tampa Screens and Aluminum. When we come back, we'll talk to Fred DeFelice. Don't go anywhere. Consumer QB rolls on.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. For more information, go to consumerqb.com.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show with your host, Brandon Rhymes. Brandon is out today he's busy all the time, so he gave me the opportunity, and I want to thank him for that, to give me the opportunity to guest host. It's really important that I get the chance to do this, and I really like the way the show works, and everything about the show has been good to me, so I want to give Brandon a big thanks for letting me do this. And Brandon has something coming up this week, you guys. Veterans and Heroes Real Estate Success Summit's coming up. Captain Matt Bruce, right here, another radio personality that you're familiar with, and the Consumer Quarterback getting together. They're going to have catering offered, and we're going to go through and help veterans and first responders understand some of the benefits and some of the things that are out there real estate wise and in the business community that they can take advantage of. So don't miss your chance to join the Veterans and Heroes Real Estate Success Summit coming up September 12th, 6 to 8:30, American Legion Post 5. You can meet the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon himself, along with Captain Matt Bruce. And also, the Consumer Quarterback Show has a bunch of partners, and they help us out and we help them out. And the idea that you might have a move coming up, you want to get in touch with Brothers Easy Moving. These guys have been such a good partner to the show. They come on, they help us move anything that we need to move. They help Brandon get into his new place, and they just do a great job. I have stories. When I was a kid, I worked for moving companies in the summer, and believe me, I don't think a lampshade made it through one move that we did the whole time I was working. We broke everything. These guys are not like that. These guys are pros, and they're going to be responsible and take care of your stuff. So contact Brothers Easy Moving if you have any moving needs here in the Bay Area. All right, back on the show here, Fred DeFelice, Water Science US. And when you guys think about water science, oftentimes we jump right to drinking water, and it's a critical piece of it, no doubt about it. But water is everywhere, Fred. It's everything we do. This microplastic stuff they talk about, and this garbage patch in the ocean that's floating around, I don't see how we're going to get away from plastics. How can we possibly keep them out of our drinking water?
Yeah, it's a big dilemma, really, but we can do what we can do at our own home. Mm-hmm. We drink at home everything in a glass bottle, or we use stainless steel.
Right.
You got to stop buying bottled water.
Man, I'm so disappointed that we know it's a problem, and we just keep producing so much bottles of water. Everywhere you go, there's bottles of water. How can we even stop the flow if we're still pumping out thousands and thousands of plastic bottles every day?
We can only do it one homeowner at a time.
That's right. So how do people get to know the quality of their own drinking water, Fred?
Well, the best thing, have us come out. We do a simple water test. We already know what's in the water, but we do a little visual, mainly to show you how much chlorine is in your water.
Yeah.
And people are shocked when they see there's about 3 times more chlorine in your kitchen sink faucet than in your swimming pool.
If you think about chlorine, it's basically a poison. It's designed to kill, and it's in your drinking water. You might want to find out how much of that stuff you're putting in your body.
Exactly, and the other end of that is in the shower or in the bathtub.
We talk about absorption through the skin. That seems like a crazy idea that you could absorb chemicals through your skin. Yep. It's a reality, huh?
It sure is. We do a test where we'll take the water from the tap. We already know there's chlorine in it. Mm-hmm. Put your 2 fingers in that glass and swirl it around for about maybe 5-10 seconds, and then retest it. You'll find that there's no chlorine in that glass of water anymore. So, that proves it. There's no debate about that.
Right. Now, I know you're a master plumber as well in your background.
Absolutely.
So when you think about all the crazy things, Flint, Michigan, all the pipes, and you think about a city like Tampa is not nearly as old, but people are saying, hey, it's a matter of time until there's an issue. You got all this piping that needs to be replaced. Yeah. The hot water heater, there's a lot of things that contribute to the quality of your water on the way to the tap, right?
Yeah.
So you need a master plumber to come in and see what's going on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm very proud of that. And I come personally to your home. We don't have salespeople. Right. 2 of my 5 sons are with me in business. So we do all the installation. We do everything. You're not dealing with anybody but us.
Yeah, it's rare to find a company, guys, where you're going to get the owner to come right out to your house every time.
And I love doing it. It's a passion. And basically, we're trying to educate people.
Sure.
There's all kinds of resources online where you can go check and see all the things about chloramine in the water. Chloramine can actually make pinholes in your copper tubing, in your copper pipes in the homes.
So not so good for your internal organs.
No. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
You know, I look at it this way. This is the world we live in. We have to be aware of what we're dealing with. And it's a simple solution that we can take care of it.
It is, and that's the idea. Get Fred out there and get yourself a filtration system that can make sure your water is safe.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah, and the great thing with our systems, there's no salt, there's no wasted water, there's nothing polluting the environment.
And folks, you will not be standing in those very long lines next time we are threatened by a hurricane if you have a filtration system at your house.
That's right.
You got water coming right out of the tap that's safe.
Yeah. We've actually designed the system where we can take the water from your swimming pool and purify that so you can drink that, if that was the worst case scenario.
Now, in that situation like in Flint, Michigan, where they're going to have to do the repiping, is that the solution? What do people do in that situation where you're in a home that may have lead?
Yeah. See, what really happens is the soldering that they use on copper pipe had lead in it.
Okay.
And as the water is coming through the pipe, especially with the chloramine, it'll start leaching that lead out.
So that's a construction standard that we've changed but still have in existence in older homes.
Absolutely. So with our under-counter unit that we developed, that'll treat the water for fluoride, lead, all the contaminants, microplastic particles. So now you have a source for drinking and cooking, and just use that for fill up your glass bottles or stainless steel bottles.
Absolutely.
Don't ever buy a plastic bottle again.
That's what we're talking about, guys. Finding a solution out there for the current situation that we're in. Fred DeFelice, like I said, is a master plumber going back, so he has a history of understanding what's going on in your home as far as getting water to all the different spigots and outlets in your house.
Right.
The different ways that you can be affected by poor quality drinking water. If it's everywhere around you, it's coming through your skin, you're drinking it. Yep. I just can't imagine high doses of chloramine are good for a human being.
Not at all. No.
I mean, it's definitely something you guys want to avoid out there.
Yep.
Fred, you've got a special here. Is it a trade-in for an existing water softener? Is that what you guys offer?
Yep, we're offering $500 as a trade-in. We want to help people get rid of their water softeners.
Okay.
And we'll extend that even further. If you don't have a water system or a water softener, we'll do a free installation to match that.
Now, in the old days, it was salt, wasn't it?
Yeah, you use salt in a water softener.
So we just they used to just, I remember on the side of your home, right? You bags of salt, drop it in there. So now you've kind of changed that technology a little bit.
Yeah, this technology is nothing new. We've been using this technology for over 10 years now. And basically, it's filtration.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people say, "Oh, I have a filter in my refrigerator," so they understand filtration, and that'll work up to a certain extent. It will not treat water for chloramine,
right,
or fluoride, or other things like that.
The particulate's too tiny, right?
Yeah, they go right through.
So you need some other method of filtration. That's
exactly.
where Fred's designed the system for you.
Yep.
So when you're out there and you want to know what. We talk real estate on the show all the time. These guys get into their house and they just are so impressed by this or that, but no one tests the quality of the water to see what's coming out of the pipe.
Right.
Is there a way for consumers out there to test their own water, or do they have to get in touch with you?
You know what they can do easily is get a little pool tester, swimming pool tester.
Okay.
And that'll tell you right there a little bit.
Now, what gives you pH balance?
It'll tell you the pH. It'll tell you the level of chlorine.
So there's some options out there for you guys. I would urge you to take an interest in your own drinking water, especially for your family, your kids. Think about what's going on in terms of the quality of water that they're providing for them. We got about a minute left in this segment, and Fred, again, your background in it. How over the years have you seen? Give me an example of some of the homes you went into where people didn't realize that their pipes were in such bad condition.
Yeah. Whenever we put in a system, you know, we have to cut out the piping sometimes. And we'll show them how much corrosion is inside that pipe.
And they're drinking the water that's coming through this pipe.
Yeah.
It looks like it's from 25 years ago. It's been under the ocean or something.
There's a lot of sediment that gets attached into the line, and it's bacteria.
That's why I've never wanted to touch like water machines at school and everything, because it always looked like there was a little barnacle growing off the end of it.
Yeah, it is.
And that's the calcium. That's everything that's just...
And they're finding lead in a lot of those water
It's
coolers.
a situation we've got to get a hold of. Stay with us. We're going to come back and talk to Fred more about it. We got Chris here with Tampa Screens and Aluminum. We're going to give some good knowledge out for you guys. The Consumer Quarterback Show with Brandon Rhymes. Stay with us, consumerqb.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, Knock out your competition.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by True Leaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, you're joining us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show with Brandon Rhymes. Brandon is out today. Your backup quarterback, James DeJerome, is in the chair. I've got Chris Hatfield from Tampa Screens and Aluminum, Fred DeFelice from waterscience.us here with me. We've been talking a little bit about ways that we can help you, consumers out there. One of the things we're going to do for you on the Consumer Quarterback Show is provide a Veterans and Heroes Real Estate Success Summit. Brandon is really, this is a point that he wanted to drive home. He told me, make sure to mention the summit. Make sure you tell him Captain Matt's going to be there. And this is a chance for veterans, first responders to come out and learn all the benefits that people, there's so many programs for veterans and first responders that I don't know that they're aware of some of the things that they can take advantage of. So that's what this is about. September 12th, 6 to 8:30 at the American Legion Post number 5, right there off Kennedy Boulevard in Tampa. Meet Brandon and the captain and find out what they can do for you. That's really what it's about. Brandon wants to help you guys out. In addition, the show you're listening to on AM 1380 is going to be appearing on 860. So we're really excited about this big move to 860. Gives us a chance to offer the show a little more widely out there, and get more folks to listen. And we hope to do more good and bring more folks on board. So stand by for that big move to 860. It's coming up September 26th, the first day you can find us over there on 860. So I've got Chris and Fred in the studio. We've been talking a little bit about consumers and what we can do for them. Chris, wanted to go back to you and just talk a little bit about. You see different things when you're out there in the home services. You run into real estate guys, all different people modifying their homes, talking about renovation and flipping and all that kind of stuff. Fred, we don't necessarily think of water as a selling point to the home, but when you guys get together, you're all about increasing the value of a home. Absolutely. So when you think about what you can offer someone out there who's thinking about maybe buying a home or flipping a home, it's a common thing to add value through Screen Room, huh?
Certainly. I mean, and not just screen room. Almost everything that's on the outside of a house, you can go up and touch and feel it. If it's made out of concrete, it's made out of concrete. If it's made out of wood, it's made out of wood. If it's made out of vinyl or aluminum, Tampa Screens and Aluminum provides it.
Okay.
And those things on the outside of a house, when you go to nice houses down in the Keys and things like that, not the older ones that have, really been shantied and put back together with paint, but the ones that are nice.
Right.
You go up and you look at everything on them. Everything on the exterior of that house is vinyl or aluminum.
Okay.
And it's just because that's what's going to withstand the salt air. Now, the Key is just a very small island, small peninsula, salt on both sides. Florida is still just a very small peninsula with salt on both sides. It's 30% salt air. So certain things like that, when we go into people's houses, we try to tell them about if you're going to do anything. Now, if they're just going to put paint on it, just to make it look good, it is what it is.
Right.
But if you're going to replace, try to look at an aluminum aspect. Try to look at a vinyl aspect, because that's what's going to last for another 30 years.
We had mentioned in the past, you guys had started getting into some of the business of pergola and some of the other structures that people have outside the home, and they've been for sale at big box stores all over the place. But the big box store doesn't make it just for Florida. They make it for the entire USA. And they make it with a profit in mind, so they're going to keep the material cost as low as they can.
I would venture to say they don't make it for Florida. The way you just said, they don't make it, it's not just for Florida. They make it with Florida on the asterisk. It's almost like if you put this thing up in Florida, do so at your own despair. And if you even go around and you walk in the big box store, they've put that pergola not outside, they've put it inside. And it's not, I'm not joking. Right. Just because those doors keep opening to the garden center, there's a lot of humidity coming in. Look at where the pieces splice together. You can already see rust happening. Yeah. So if that's what's happening on the inside, you put that on the outside of a house, it's going to be gone in a year.
So for all you guys that are in a big box store, on the weekends with your wife or whatever, and she said, "Oh, we got this. I want this. We got to have that." Think about where you're going to put it and if it can survive, because Tampa Screens and Aluminum can get a product that is made for your home and is made for Florida.
And if it's a good enough deal, buy 6 of them. Put a couple of them up in your attic, and when they deteriorate, you can keep coming out and putting out a new one.
What are some of the other things? I know you have that line of stuff that comes out that Fred Renaissance. What are some of the designs inside that? I saw the standard pergola, but you guys can do all kinds of things.
Well, when it comes to the Renaissance pergola, that company themselves, they kind of want to stay to a couple different square footages, a couple different models.
Okay.
So their Classico model, their different things that they've done with that are done up exactly this way, and that's because the rafter spacing, how it's done, makes perfect sense. It is a perfect architectural addition to a home. But now, if you're wanting to do anything like a screen room modification, screen enclosure modification, that's where our skilled fabricators really shine.
Gotcha.
Because any mold, as long as it's not a circle, I can make it happen out of aluminum.
Yeah, how far? I mean, I've seen some pretty wide spans without a beam. How far?
It's getting to be gigantic.
Now, how are you guys doing that?
It's a specialized beam, specialized mill thickness, has a lot to do with the spacing as well. We're not trying to free span a river. We're not trying to do that. But even when you look at a bridge, everything about it's got angles. It's got perfectly pre-designed mates for how everything goes together. The screws, the integration, everything like that. We're not building these things out of clips, and they're not hockey stick together anymore. They really are a pre-planned decision. The bolts that hold them down are about 8 inches long. They go down to the mantle of this earth. They really are just stout creatures, and we're able to now free span them more like a bridge.
So in the panoramic idea, where you're trying to, people don't want the obstruction somehow. So you've got to space that. You're just spacing that thing so wide. How are you getting that? I mean, I'm amazed at some of the stuff Fred has shown me as far as the panoramics.
There's a couple key secrets. We can't give away everything. Everybody would be out there doing it, but we've been doing it longer than anybody. We figured out when we started doing them what were the key mistakes and how are you going to make this actually work. Engineers came out and said, there was one prominent engineer out of Sarasota that puts his name on everything, and he said, yeah, I'll go ahead and say this will be done. And then we all had to play catch up because it was we never knew that. 56 square foot, 7 foot by 8 foot, that was the largest we were ever to span with a screen panel. Then they gave us 10 foot by 25 foot, blew our minds. So we had to jump in with the times of it, but now we've done a good 100 of them, and we know exactly how to do it. It has a lot to do with that screen tension, though. Regular screen can only handle that 8 by 7 area. The modern screen, the way that they've made it, it's just Kevlar.
So Tampa Screens and Aluminum, they've got a lot of history in this business, and they can do things that others might not be able to do. So you want to get in touch with Chris and find out what's the website, Chris?
www.tampascreens.com.
Tampascreens.com. Find out what they can do for you. There's a lot of ideas and different things that you'll run across, and I'm sure they'll be able to accommodate or at least give you some logic behind how the design's going to work.
And I can give you a whole host of options depending on what your budget's working out for. When you've moved into a house, sometimes you bought that Viking range, sometimes you bought that top dollar tile, sometimes you bought that 70-inch TV. I understand. We can do a small little lanai, get you something to be able to enjoy for right now, and give you a couple options on what to dream for the future so you at least have a budgetary standpoint.
There you go. Chris Hatfield, Tampa Screens and Aluminum. I want to come back to Fred. Fred, I was thinking about people and their ability to test their own water, find out what their drinking water standards are. As a community or as a society, have we put standards in place? Does Tampa say that, hey, we mandate that our water is this level quality or that level quality? And
yeah.
So
the water company issues a report every year.
They do.
And you can look that up. And it'll tell you. Now, a lot of times they've lowered the standards, like for lead and arsenic and things like that.
So is that by jurisdiction, or does the city of Tampa do it, or is the county of Hillsborough?
No, I think it's federal requirement.
Okay.
But each municipality has to do it.
And because each municipality is located in a different place, their drinking water may have a unique quality to it, salt or whatever it might be, as opposed to some other place.
Yeah, Tarpon Springs, for example, gets their water from brackish water. So they have a lot of salt in the water already. Tampa Bay, it's the Hillsborough River where a majority of the water is coming from.
Well, you don't think about that. So you just make a drive across the city of Tampa Bay and you'll be pulling water from different locations.
Yeah, Tampa Bay has three sources actually. The river,
the Hillsborough River,
the aquifer, and deep wells, and then the desalinization plant when it's working.
Now the desal thing, I remember this might be a decade ago. This was really hot. A guy I knew was into selling. They got him to sell these desal plants. I thought, man, this is a thing of the future without a doubt. We're going to see a giant one right offshore, and it's going to provide all the drinking water. South Florida has this as well, a big issue about drinking water. They keep building into the glades, into the middle, and keep draining all that marshland. So they're saying sooner or later they're going to have to steal water from up here to pipe it down there, much the way California does. Yeah. But the desal thing, remember, we're surrounded by water. I can't imagine there's not a better way to do this. Yeah.
The big problem with that is where they're putting the salt they're dumping after they purify the water, going back into the Gulf.
So we're resalifying
the
ocean.
But they've answered the problem, though. They're going to start using the reclaimed water that we water our lawns with.
So less salt to remove.
Yeah, no, they'll use the reclaimed water. You know where reclaimed water comes from, right?
This is the toilet to tap thing we've been reading about?
Exactly.
So without the salt removal, they still have to purify all the water.
Yeah.
But it's not. How has this been taken in other jurisdictions? Have you been other places that do this?
Well, California was probably the first to do it.
So that was a drinking water shortage. They had to come up with a solution.
Absolutely. My biggest concern is there's going to be more pharmaceutical drugs in the water.
Absolutely.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah, they cannot remove the pharmaceutical drugs effectively at the treatment plant.
No
kidding. So that's why we take care of that.
I never thought of that as an issue, honestly.
Yeah,
so everything that's flushed down the toilet ends up as something that has to be removed from this water.
Yep. With all the pharmaceutical drugs in the water, they're finding fish with 3 eyes. I mean,
toxic alligators.
I know. I've read stories.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah. This is not unique to the United States. I read about this in England as well.
Yeah.
So the idea of toilet to tap, the thing you need to consider is it's not simply the sewage component that you're worried about. There's all kinds of pollution.
Everything. And this is my, this is the statement, really. The water comes into your home, it's your obligation to take care of it from that point.
And you don't think of it that way. That's a real refreshing perspective, because it's your responsibility if you think about it that way.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you don't know about it, if you're ignorant to the fact, well, too bad, because you just don't know.
Right.
So hopefully with programs like this, people are becoming aware.
Now, in the event that you are subjected to some kind of issue with your drinking water, you really don't have a recourse as a consumer. I mean, who do you go after?
Yeah, you can't. You're not going to be able to sue the water company.
Right. It's quite a big, a daunting task to try to find help in that situation.
Yeah. Once the water gets to your home, now it's traveling through the pipes inside your house, right? That's where there's other contamination. So a lot of problems, you're not going to get the problem in your shower, but you don't want to drink it.
Right.
So our under-counter system will take care of all of that stuff. That's where you want.
That's what you want to do, folks. Get in touch with Fred DeFelice, waterscience.us. He's got this offer. We're giving you a $500 trade-in for your existing water softener.
Exactly.
And he's going to come out and make sure that your drinking water is up to standards.
Yep.
All right, when we come back on the Consumer Quarterback Show, I got a feel-good story for you. We've got a guy out there who's been thinking about other people, and that's the big thing with Brandon, is committing that random act of kindness. Stay with us. Find out what you can do and what we'll all do here to have a little bit of a better day when we hear a good story. Consumer Quarterback Show rolls on. This is ConsumerQB.com.
That goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
That's right. Brandon Rhymes, the Consumer Quarterback Show. Brandon is out today. This is James DeJerome, your backup quarterback. I'm sitting here with Chris Hatfield from Tampa Screens and Aluminum, Fred DeFelice from Water Science US. These guys have given us some great information today, hopefully empowering you a little bit next time you want to make a buying decision in their fields. And to that end, we want to talk about people that do things for others. That's really the basis of the show. You know, Brandon put the show together as a way of vetting business owners and kind of giving you an edge when it comes to the consumer world out there. The same kind of thing applies to doing some program Random Act of Kindness, which is his big push. He mentions that a lot. And to that end, we've got a story today in our Feel Good segment about a Florida guy who's thinking of others. And that's the key with this storm season. As you know, it creates quite a bit of hardship for lots of folks all over the world. And this guy, man in Florida, just happened to walk into a local Costco, and he was going to buy a generator, and he noticed another gentleman in there who was buying 100 generators. The guy says, and this is, you always say this is a Florida man. They always talk about a Florida guy doing something crazy. Yeah. This is one I want you to think about. So a man in Florida walked into a local Costco. He noticed a gentleman named Alex Sprague, a resident from Jacksonville, said he went there to buy a generator. He saw a man buying 100. He wrote, just in Costco off Collins, getting a generator, $450 each. And this guy right here is purchasing 100 generators and food to send to the Bahamas. All I could do is shake his hand and thank him. He says there's still good people in the world. And he put it up on Facebook. And according to CNN, his receipt read $49,285. That was including the generators and some of the food essentials that he sent over as well. The man, who wishes not to be named, said he does not want the attention and would rather focus on people helping those in the Bahamas. It's important that we help each other, he said. It's better than just sitting here. You see a need and you fill it. Now, getting those generators from Jacksonville to the Bahamas is a challenge. He's got trucks in Stewart that are going to use boats. They're going to find a way to get things over there. You guys heard any stories about how people are getting back and forth or getting stuff over there? I mean, it's a real mess.
Yeah, there's actually a company based out of Venice called Agape Flights, and they've been literally having people collect tools, old hand tools. I mean, you don't realize when 12 feet of water rushes up, the toolbox, everything's gone, and everything's now rusted and sitting down somewhere else. So it's a lot of little things. They don't need water. Yeah. They really don't. They don't need MREs. The United Nations takes care of a lot of those things. But then getting back on their feet, I mean, they literally have platforms. They have foundations, and even some of their foundations have been moved.
It's absolutely incredible to think you'd be put in that position with not a thing except the clothes on your back and try to work your way out of that. I mean, it is a mess.
Yeah.
We talk about water all the time, and Chris was talking about, hey, bottled water is not practical to try to send over there on airplanes full of water to these people.
It sits on the tarmac, gets covered, by a couple tarps, and mainly just gets sun-drenched to the point of it's more toxic to put in your body than, just leave sitting there. Yeah.
It's quite a situation where you don't even know how to help. For the average person over here that wants to help, we have tons of folks that have a good heart and say, man, I'd love to help and find a way to help. It's going to take some doing, because it's not easy to get things over there. It's not easy to figure out what can last and get over there and do good.
It's $3,000 in fuel just to get something over there. So, I mean, they will need money just for fuel. They will need people to help load the planes, to help facilitate. The Rays, they did a great thing last week where they were, anybody that came up, anything you donated, blankets, shirts. I mean, people need stuff. Yeah. You were going to get a free ticket to the Rays game.
We've got friends of the program. I know Captain Will Smith, a friend, an aviator friend with Brandon, is organizing trips over there. Juan Conchero, another gentleman who works on the show, works with the show. He's trying to do the same thing. So we've got great folks in our community, as we always do, that are going to respond to the need. But how to best handle the logistics of it and how to trust that your donations are getting to the right people. I always worry in these situations that somebody jumps up in the middle and you're not getting the supplies to the right folks.
They have websites where you can find out exactly how much money goes to giving the CEO of that nonprofit, how much goes into their training, all those different things. And I don't know the website offhand, but you can research it and find out.
Yeah, exactly. The same way that this program vets business owners and does that kind of, you've got to do that on your own as a charitable contributor, because you don't want to contribute to the problem. You want to make sure that you're doing something that's going to get to the right people out there. Right. So I urge everyone to think of the folks in the Bahamas and what they're going through, but think about the best way to help them. And it may take a few minutes and not just, hey, here's some water, here's a canned good, that kind of thing. It's how to get it to them.
Yep.
All right, folks. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of a lightning round here. I want to give these guys a chance to hit you with some final thoughts in a way that maybe they could get in touch with you. Chris, what can Tampa Screens and Aluminum, what do you want to tell folks out there that are listening?
Like I said, you can always give us a call at 813-960-7064. And when you give them a call, tell them you saw us on the Quarterback Show. Beyond that, TampaScreens.com, Facebook/Tampa Screens, RenaissancePatioProducts.com. If you go on Renaissance Patio Products, you can view any of their different options And as soon as you go to fill out the contact information, you'll be directly linked to Tampa Screens if you're in this area because we're their trusted provider.
How about busyness? Busy time of year for you guys?
It's always busy. When the kids go back to school, nobody's going to get a rescreen or anything else like that when the heathens are running amok. So once it gets into that fall time, it's that mosquito-y time as well. But it's also, I mean, houses are selling. The market's doing great. People are looking to put a little bit of an addition on their house. People are doing well financially at this time. So unemployment's at low. People are spending on those luxuries. We're always busy. I tell people when the snowbirds start to come, you needed to at least have your stuff ironed out because that's when we get into a little bit of a lull. But that won't happen till Thanksgiving. Right now, if you're looking for repairs, 3 weeks out. New installations, 8 weeks.
Just a quick one on the screen gauge. Do you guys is there a need for a tighter gauge, or as far as the?
A tighter gauge is counterintuitive. It's got its good and its bad. 20/20 mesh is what they recommend for no-see-ums. If you live out in a coastal area or if you live on a pond and there's a lot of your mayflies, your smaller bugs, your gnats, the 20/20 mesh is good for that.
Okay.
What it's also going to be is wind prohibitive. It's going to cut down the permeation of wind that comes into the enclosure by 21%. So
light
you
as
also
well?
Yep, it's also going to cut down light by 17%. It also doesn't allow droplets to form as easily, so it keeps water in the perfect squares. So if you do put it in your roof, it can cause for sagging over time, but it works as a beneficial if you have pine needles, because that 20/20, that tighter weave, won't allow pine needles to sit in there.
Just aside, how come plants do well inside the screen? It seems odd that they would do well in the screen.
If it's a pollinator, it doesn't do too well.
Oh, okay.
Pollinators need bees and things like that. But most screen enclosures I go out, I can find a highway. There's a hole in some screen enclosure after, a lizard or a bug or a stick or something, and bugs are finding their way in there. But people keep them in there to keep them away from the other pests. When you keep them inside of there, you're keeping them away from a lot of your ground intrusives, your nematodes, your things like that. Like a potted plant, you're able to keep better care for it as opposed to it being exposed to the elements.
Tampa Screens and Aluminum. Chris Hatfield, I just told you he's got a world of knowledge out there. All right, Fred, in addition to providing folks with that option to come get their water treatment, their water filtration system changed, tell me some of the things that folks need to be aware of about their water out there.
Yeah, basically it's what you're going to find in your tap. The chloramine, the chlorine, lead.
That's the good news. If you just find those, then you're just like everybody. Hopefully you're not finding anything else.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're expecting to find these things, which are definitely not good for you.
Yeah. But we take care of all that. We've simplified the process. I come out personally. We test the water. I bring you a sample of our water so you can taste it.
Okay.
And then just make the evaluation and recommend the right size system.
So Fred DeFelice is going to come out. He's going to bring his life of experience as a master plumber. He's got a ton of experience in this. And then his family. It's a family business.
Exactly.
So his kids are following right behind him. So this is not somebody who's in it just for a quick buck. This is spent his whole life doing this kind of thing.
Really, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So we have financing. People can own our systems for about $1 a day. And we're rolling out a rental program so people can actually rent.
So
rent
lots
our
of
equipment.
options.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no reason to have poor drinking water or find out later that you're sick because you've been drinking water all your life that you shouldn't have.
Right.
When a Voss water costs $4, if you can get the good stuff for $1 a day,
Our systems carry a lifetime warranty, no maintenance for 3 years. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's a great program.
You cannot afford to drink unhealthy water, period. That's just a fact. You don't want to do that to yourself. We've had a great show here, guys. Thanks so much for coming in. I just want to say that that Brandon has given me the opportunity to host the show when he's not here, and I hope as a listener out there you can bear with me for a little while as I get better at this. But I want to make sure that I thank him for the opportunity and make sure that I tell you guys once again that he's out there doing things for you. This Veterans and First Responders Summit that he's doing, it's all about giving back, and him and Captain Matt getting together trying to provide as much goodwill in the community and as much knowledge as they can for folks out there that they think deserve it. So Veterans, First Responders, please take advantage. Thursday, September 12th, 6 to 8:30, American Legion, post number 5. As always, you can check us out online. The Consumer Quarterback Show is also on WeBeam TV, as Rob, our tech here, is making sure that we look good on WeBeam. Jose's going to keep us sounding right on the radio. And all you guys, check us out online again, consumerqb.com. Brandon has done a good job with this program. I want to continue doing that for him. Thanks so much, Brandon, for giving me the opportunity. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Contact Brandon Rhymes at 813-670-7372. That's 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show. Weekday afternoons at 5 on AM 1380. The Biz.
Are you a real estate agent looking to take your business to the next level and supercharge your marketing? Hi, I'm Brandon Rhymes, owner of Platinum MVP Realty and host of the Real Estate Quarterback Show, syndicated radio and TV show talk program on iHeartRadio, 1025 The Bone, daily 5 o'clock drive time on 1380 The Biz, and our TV show is on WeBeam TV. We're looking for real estate agents that want to join our team and supercharge their marketing utilizing some of our innovative strategies. We utilize the Real Geeks platform, Facebook marketing, internet marketing, and a lot of the traditional methods as well. Postcard mailers mailed for you, postage, signage, business cards, all paid for by the company. Aggressive real estate splits and ways to help you win in any marketplace. We need you to go out, take applications, and work our plethora of leads that we're generating on a daily basis. Reach out by clicking the form below, and we'd love to have a confidential interview with you.